What's going on YouTube? It's your boy RonnyPugs back again with another Avengers Endgame related video for you guys. We're no longer in the Endgame, and today I figured I could share my brief spoiler review for the film as well as some early predictions for what I think's in store for the MCU going forward. And although the word spoiler is in the title, thumbnail, and spoken, this is the last warning I'll give before we move into spoiler territory. So if you don't want to be spoiled, exit the video now and come back after you see the film. So beginning with the spoiler review for Avengers Endgame, I had no doubt this film was going to be the greatest comic book film yet, but what I didn't expect was the amount of fan service this film had, paying tribute to the 11 years leading up to this moment. Of course, a lot of other Marvel films don't really need the viewer to watch all of the previous films to understand what's going on, but with this film, it really seems like it was made specifically for those fans who've seen all the films. And quickly into the film, a perfect example of this comes from the Captain Marvel scene where she rescues Tony, leading them back to Earth like she's been there from day one. Before the film, I thought the mid-credits scene for Captain Marvel was a scene from Endgame, but that turned out not to be the case. And for those who skip Captain Marvel, since it seemed like a pointless film leading into Endgame, they missed a key element to how Captain Marvel got in contact with the Avengers. A lot of callbacks to the franchise also came into play during the elevator scene, which I thought was perfect, making Steve say the controversial line from the comics. I'm sure a lot of us were expecting a recreation of the elevator scene, but in my opinion, what happened in the film was better. Even tying into the TV shows with including the actor who played Jarvis in the Agent Carter series was a good touch. Along with that and a number of other examples, it really seemed like this film was for the fans who've truly been invested into the MCU. Moving on, I'll also say that I wasn't expecting the Avengers to kill Thanos so early in the film, and definitely did not expect a 5-year time jump in the film. I would have liked to see more of the aftermath of the snap before the time jump, but what I really liked was Tony's reaction after returning to Earth. He didn't seem concerned about the fact that Steve's best friend killed his parents, instead he was focused on losing others. I do think the way the Avengers reversed the snap was interesting. Before the film, I figured Captain Marvel would be the one to lead the Avengers to an early death, with Tony arriving back on Earth just too late to join them for the fight, thus making Tony's vision from Age of Ultron become true to an extent, and with that, Scott Lang and Tony would travel back in time and re-recruit the Avengers in order to defeat Thanos. This movie included a lot of stuff that we weren't expecting. I'm sure the audience was expecting that most of the Avengers died along with Cap and Tony, but we only got 2 major deaths, with one of them in my opinion being the most noble death of any comic book film, with Tony dying after using all of the Infinity Stones. This was without a doubt the best way Tony could have went out, and no better lines than "I am Iron Man," calling back to the iconic moment from Iron Man 1 for his last words in the MCU. So with that, I will give Endgame a high 9 out of 10, and if you're wondering why I can't deem it a perfect 10 out of 10, allow me to explain. For one, I feel Captain Marvel was underutilized in this film. She only showed up for about 15 minutes maybe, with her doing no real impact besides destroying Thanos' ship at the end, which I feel Scarlet Witch could have done by herself. And we were meant to believe that she would play a big role within this film, but I wish she was more involved with the story, especially since the original Avengers were able to reassemble the gauntlet without her. If anyone was to wield the gauntlet at first, I feel like it should have been her, since her powers come from one of the stones. Obviously she had other things to do across the universe, but she could have been called for that moment, and I don't think it would have affected her as it did Hulk. Also, it seems like she's more than likely to be the new face of the MCU post Phase 3, and I don't feel like she deserves that, since she's the character with the least amount of screen time within the events of Endgame. If anything, I feel like it should be given to Sam Wilson, or eventually Peter Parker once he's graduated high school, or maybe Phase 4 of the MCU is leading up to who will eventually be the new leader of the team. And secondly, I wish we could have seen Captain America returning the stones, or at least the Soul Stone, since his #1 villain was guarding it. I feel like it was a huge missed opportunity within the film, not at least showing the Soul Stone being returned. As for the future of the MCU from this film, I'm predicting the older Steve Rogers dies at the finale of the Bucky and Falcon Disney Plus series. Not by the hands of anyone of course, but just peacefully passing, similar to Agent Carter in Civil War. I couldn't imagine a better series finale. Also, I'm willing to bet that Falcon and the Winter Soldier is just a placeholder title for Captain America in the Winter Soldier. Obviously they don't want to call it that now due to spoilers, but I guarantee once we see the first trailer for the TV show that the title will be changed. I'm also hoping the events of Endgame play heavily in the Spider-Man Far From Home, as I feel like this Spider-Man has to mature greatly in this film, since it's likely his last film in high school. I'm already predicting the death of Ned Leeds in this film, but with S.H.I.E.L.D.'s involvement and witnessing the death of another father figure in this film, I'm hoping S.H.I.E.L.D. helps groom Spider-Man into the future face of the Avengers and maturing the character for the role. I'm also betting that the Vision and Scarlet Witch Disney Plus series is going to be about Scarlet Witch trying to bring back Vision, or at least build another Vision throughout the series. Maybe midway through the series that actually happens, and then you get Vision and Scarlet Witch. I'm also thinking the Loki series takes place between the Avengers and the Dark World, since we did see Loki escape in this film, which I think is pretty interesting. As for the next big villain of the MCU in Phase 4 or 5, I'm expecting it to be Dormammu, considering Doctor Strange's role within Infinity War and Endgame, but I do have a theory video to who I think could be the Phase 4 villain coming soon. So let me know what you guys thought of the film. Do you think it's the greatest comic book film yet? What do you think should have happened in this film if it wasn't the greatest? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe, follow my social medias, and I will see you guys again in my next video.